Vegavastha, that is symptomatic phase, or avegavastha, or non-attack phase. Again, there is difference of opinion. Again, here, patient depending upon the condition of the patient. So, if the person is having the doshas for in the respiratory tract where you are supposed to eliminate it, so it will be better to go with avegavastha if the person is having poor bala, because already in the vamana is very distressful condition. So that time giving during vegavastha admitting vamana may be a little bit difficult. Practically, it will be difficult. So likewise. So sometimes what we do is the person is in asymptomatic phase. So we give medicine to aggravate that symptom and then eliminate it outside. That is why we are just before one day before vamana, we give lot of curds or dadi to the patient, because it is the one which is causing abhishyandi. So it will provoke the doshas. It will convert Leena dosha into Utklishta dosha. And Utklishta dosha, it is very easy to remove. Just small trigger is enough to remove all the phlegm that is present inside the respiratory tree. So you are deliberately aggravating the doshas and eliminating it outside. So in which avastha the dosha is? Shall I give him shodhana, or shall I manage him with shamana? Shall I keep quiet on, don't give any medicine to aggravate, or shall I aggravate it and then remove it? So all that depends upon finding what is the avastha of dosha. So then we are supposed to know the dosha dosha samurchana. So which dosha is involved, which dhatu is involved. Say for example, if vata dosha is involved, as I said, asti is the common factor. And if at all, if pitta is there, obviously rakta is the factor, and kapha and is there, then remaining dhatus are the one which is commonly, generally, that is what we do. So here, in case of dosha dosha samurchana, I told you we are supposed to separate this dosha dosha samurchana. If vata has selected ashraya dhatu, that is asti, separation is little bit difficult. The treatment becomes little bit difficult. If vata has got associated with its non-ashraya dhatu, then it is comparatively easier to treat. I'll give you an example. All of you have studied about vata rakta. So there are two stages of vata rakta. One is uttana vata rakta as well as gambhira vata rakta. In uttana vata rakta, the vata dosha has got association with rakta dhatu, even though they are not ashraya related. So this dushta vata along with prakupita vata along with dushta rakta combines together and gives uttana vata rakta features like vaivarnya, daha, toda, shula, likewise. After some time, the vata goes gambhiravastha. That means the vata gets associated with asti dhatu as well. And now once it reaches gambhiravastha, that is deeper dhatu, the time where vata gets associated with asti dhatu, no, that is quite strong bondage. That time dosha dosha samurchana is very strong. Now this is why treatment becomes difficult. That is why we say uttana vata rakta is easy to treat, because it is very easy for us to separate dushta vata from dushta rakta, because they are not related through ashraya sambandha. Whereas as it goes deeper, when the time when vata gets associated with asti, the dosha dosha samurchana is very strong, and already there will be a lot of structural damage that has happened to the asti dhatu. Asti is a murta dhatu. It's a hard dhatu, stira dhatu, sthayi dhatu, hard dhatu. So when that dhatu is destroyed, it is not possible for you to refill, replace, and reverse the disease. Once the deformity has occurred, and that deformity is permanent. So permanent deformity will be there in gambhira vata rakta, because the dosha has got associated with its inherent dhatu, that is asti dhatu. So this is the importance of nidana here. So we can predict the prognosis. If it is uttana vata rakta, we can cure, because dosha dosha samurchana is, we can separate it easily. Gambhira dhatu, no, it has combined with its fundamental dhatu, friendly dhatu or ashraya dhatu, so it is very difficult to separate. That's why prognosis may be difficult. This is the judgment that we bring. Even in case of gulma also. Now why gulma is difficult to treat? Because some gulmas are having no murta rupa. There is no appearance. You know, we all know that vata is that dosha which doesn't have its shape, size. You are not. It is not possible for you to see. Pittam pangu, kafam pangu, pangavo maladatava. But the vata, even though it is invisible, even though it has not got any structural appearance, but it is the one which controls all that has got structural appearance. When vata causes association with structures, then only the content becomes visible. If vata, only vata, or only vata gets associated with itself and creates trouble, it is not possible for us to see it. Only functionally we can find there is some problem there. It is not possible for you to identify the presence of gulma with any advanced technology like CT scan, MRI, or whatever it is. Not only that, simply Vata Vriddhi Lakshana. Can any scanning report say that? No. Admana, Anaha, Atopa. We cannot find anything in the imaging techniques or any of the reports because your Vata being Amurta Dravya has involved in disease possession. That is why structurally we cannot feel anything. Functionally only you can see all kinds of vikriti or pathology. So that is what the description of dosha samurchana is about. Sometimes one dosha is there, it is easy to treat. Sometimes multiple samurchana is there, that is very, very difficult. Say for example, in case of kushta, where all the three doshas are there, all the dhatus are there, upadhatus are there. So it is a complicated dosha samurchana. All dhatus and all doshas getting mixed together. So it is very difficult. That is why kushta is difficult to cure. Okay, so that is one understanding of it. Now, one more understanding in case of Sandhi Vata also. We all know that Sandhi Vata is a degenerative joint disease where Asti Dhatu is being destroyed by increase of Vata dosha. The symptom is pain. That is what we say. So, Lakshana is Shula, stiffness, Stamba, okay, as well as Shofa, swelling. Here, most of us, we try to manage the pain. So we reduce, what happens here is Vata Vriddhi, Astikshaya. Vata Vriddhi, Astikshaya. Once again, Vata Vriddhi, Astikshaya. We are giving treatment like Abhyanga, Snehana, Svedana, all that is to manage Vata, okay? Vriddha Vata will come down by Snigdha Guna of, that is present in the Taila. Taila is Vatahara, Basti is Vatahara, all that is fine. But what about Asti? Why are we not taking care of Asti Dhatu? So, Vriddha Vata dosha may come down in Sandhi Vata, but what about Asti Dhatu that has undergone Kshaya? So that we are not talking about. So that damage, structural damage that has occurred in Asti Dhatu, we will still continue to give trouble to the patient. So that is why it is not a complete treatment, Abhyanga or Janubasti, like that. It's not just a complete treatment. It's half of the treatment where you are only managing Vata dosha. What about Asti Dhatu? So you are supposed to recalcify it, remineralize it. So Basti is the right treatment for it, where you use Kshira Basti along with Tikta Rasa, because the Kshira, where the calcium contents are present in it, and Tikta Rasas that are present in it will be Vatahara also, and it will recalcify the person's bone. So once Asti Dhatu is nourished, the Asti Dhatu that has undergone Kshaya, if the Asti is been rebuilt once again, so new remodeling of the bone takes place, then there is no Sandhi Vata at all. You have completely cured the Sandhi Vata. So the two aspects of Sandhi Vata is Vata Vriddhi, Astikshaya. Vata Vriddhi, okay, by the Abhyanga, Nadi Sveda and all you have managed, Janubats you have managed, but Astikshaya you have not yet managed. You are supposed to recalcify it. So that is explained very well by knowing Roga Nidana only you can find it. So which aspect of dosha you have managed and which aspect of dhatu you have managed, this Roga Nidana can tell you. So you are supposed to consider these aspects as well. The next point traces the dosha gati. Very, very important point. It's a very important point in Roga Nidana. So dosha gati is the one which is bringing out everything in Roga Nidana, because Urdhva Gati of dosha, Adho Gati of dosha, as well as Tirya Gati of dosha, these three dosha Gati have studied before. Now, why we are supposed to understand this dosha Gati? Because it is required for treatment. So you should, as I said earlier, where it's like a map. You are supposed to find where exactly this dosha has reached finally. So if it is moving in upward direction, what should be the treatment? If it is moving downward direction, what should be the treatment? If it is sideways, what should be the treatment? We all have studied about Rakta Pitta disease, where Urdhvaga Rakta Pitta is a condition where the Rakta along with other dhatus moves upwards, Adhoga Rakta Pitta moves downwards. And what is the treatment for this disease? Shodhana. What kind of Shodhana? Pratimargarana Shodhana. If at all the patient is suffering from Urdhvaga Rakta Pitta, you are giving Virechana. Why? The dosha is moving upwards, so you are supposed to pull it down by using a force. What kind of force is that? The force that is generated during Shodhana is the one that is bringing back or pulling downwards the dosha that is moving upward. So that is why we give Virechana in Urdhvaga Rakta Pitta to pull back. We give Vamana in Adhoga Rakta Pitta. The dhatus are, dosha dhatus are moving downwards, so you are pulling back, so by maintaining the dosha gati. What about Tiryak? How do we manage Tiryak? Most of the diseases related to kushta or skin, the dosha gati is tiryak roga marga. You are supposed to bring back the dosha that has moved to shaka. From shaka, you are supposed to bring it to koshta, and from koshta, you are supposed to eliminate it. So, shall I eliminate it from urdhva marga or shall I eliminate it from adho marga? How do I know? Always, virechana is not the line of treatment. Sometimes we need vamana also. Sometimes we need virechana also. Sometimes we need rakta moksha also. So, when to give vamana? If at all the kushta has got influence of kapha where Khandu, Shaitya, as well as Gaurava is there, Aruchi is there, then it is better to go with Vamana. If at all if the patient shows Kushta Lakshana, that is showing Raga, Daha, Tivra Paka, so obviously that is the role of presence of Pitta as well as Rakta there, then it is better to go with Virechana. So here also, forget about Vyadhis. You are supposed to find which dosha lakshanas are there to choose what kind of Shodhana is beneficial. And this is required for us to understand Snehana. We give Snehana because Snehana as well as Svedana is the one which brings the dosha from Shaka to Koshta, and then we give Shodhana either by Urdhva Marga or Adho Marga. The last point in this particular slide is Srota Dushti Prakara. What kind of Srota Dushti occurs in the patient? See, I think you can see this picture. It is having two pictures. One under the heading of Atisara and another one under the heading of Udara. We all know that here Udakava Srotas is involved in this particular disease. So the Udakava Srotas pours water into the large intestine, and in Atisara, the water that has accumulated in the large intestine mixes with the ama and then comes outside through the Guda Marga in the form of Dravamala, and you are going to name that particular disease as Atisara. That is what happening in Atisara. What is happening in Udara? It is also same. In Udara also same samprapti is happening, where Udakava Srotas pours water to the large intestine, and from large intestine it cannot come outside. So, can you see the picture of arrow mark that I have drawn in the Atisara? Yeah, because that their outlet is open. So hence Ati Pravriti takes place. So where all the mala plus water both comes outside. So that is Atisara. Same thing in case of next side, but the outlet is closed. I think you can see that cross mark that is present in the anal region of the second picture, where the Udaka is there in the Udaka, in the GIT, Mala is there in the GIT, Ama is there in the GIT. It is about to come outside through the Marga, but it is been closed. The typical example is Baddha Gudodara I am talking about. So here, as those Udaka, Ama, Mala, nothing is able to come outside because the outlet is closed. Everything gets accumulated in the Udara Pradesha. Hence, there will be distension of Udara. That is why the disease is called as Udara, because there is abdominal bloating. What is the difference between Atisara as well as Udara? There is no difference in the Samprapti. There is no difference in the dosha as well as Dhatu or whatever it is involved. The only difference is open outlet in Atisara. That's why Mala is coming outside. But closed outlet in Udara. That is why nothing can come outside. Everything gets accumulated in the intestine. So this is the typical example I'm giving you in a variety. Now, how do we treat it? How we treat it, because it is very important. This knowledge is important for chikitsa. So hence, if it is not amavastha, Atisara we give stammana chikitsa, whereas in case of Udara, as the outlet is closed, because of the closed outlet, all accumulation is happening, we are supposed to open the outlet. Once the outlet is open, all that which is accumulated in the large intestine will come outside. So that is why Nitya Virechana is explained for Udara chikitsa, whereas Stambana, if it is Nirama Atisara. If, in Ama Atisara, of course, we continue with the Tadarthakari Chikitsa, whereas if it is Nirama stage, then we go with Stambana Chikitsa. You can go with Kutaja or whatever it is. So that is why we stop the overflow in Atisara and we open the flow in Udara. So for this, you need knowledge from Roganidana. Then Roganidana knowledge tells you the avastha of Vyadhi, which particular stage the person is going through, whether the patient is having Amavastha, whether the patient is in Niramavastha. That is the first point you are supposed to know, because every disease is because of Ama. We know it. But again, presence of Ama or Ama in the Nirama stage makes a lot of difference in the treatment. So How to know whether the patient is having Sama Vyadi or Nirama Vyadi? Please ask three aspects to the patient. Check the patient's Agni. How is the status of Agni? Is it in Mandavastha, or is the Agni poor? Is the digestion capacity poor? Is the process of digestion decreased, or the patient is having slow and sluggish digestion process? This, it is the Ama Lakshana only. So next aspect is you are supposed to check the mala of the patient. So I still remember Dr. Sharanya. She was my student. Now she's working in Vajraratnam. Commendable work she has done, where she has collected the stool sample of the patient and she has tested Jalanimajjana Pariksha of it, the sticky nature of it, and assessment of Tilapishta Nibavarchas, the stool consistency like that of the paste of a tila. So all that she has done, and she understood the role of or presence of Ama as well as Nirama, Mala, just by these three techniques. And she has done it. If at all, if you're interested, you can talk to her in this regard. She has collected the stool sample of a lot of patients who are suffering from Vataja related Malanirharana issues, and she has collected the sample and differentiated Samavastha as well as Niramavastha by doing Jalanimajjana Pariksha and all that. So you are supposed to check the patient's mala, whether it is a complete evacuation, whether there is Daurgandhya, whether the stickiness is there, foamy stools are there, and is there any incomplete evacuation. You are supposed to ask this. So Agni as well as mala, you are supposed to check, and then check the patient's Juha, tongue, coating. If at all if there is presence of coating, again, we can tell about the presence of Ama in it. So this is how you can differentiate Amavastha as well as Niramavastha. Because if the patient is in Amavastha, you are supposed to give treatment to Ama. So Amapachana, Agnidipana line of treatment you are going. And after once Amapachana has occurred, where the patient's appetite has increased, where the person's mala has changed its consistency, where the Juha shows some clear, then you can go with Vyadi Pratinika Chikitsa. So treatment to Ama first and then treatment to disease next. This is explained, if you very well explained, if you understand the patient's Vyadi Avastha. Same in case of Uttana Vatarakta as well as Gambhira Vatarakta that I have explained a while ago, where Bahir Parimarjana Chikitsa has to be given in Uttana Vatarakta as well as Antar Parimarjana Chikitsa, especially with reference to Basti, is given in Gambhira Vatarakta. So to differentiate which avastha, whether it is Uttana or Gambhira, whether it is Ama or Nirama, whether it is freshly manifested disease like Navajvara, whether it is chronic illness, that all we are going to understand in Vyadi Avastha, because Jvara has got different phases. As the Chikitsa Sutra says, Jvarado Langanam Proktam. The first stage of disease always you have to go to, you are supposed to Langana. Okay, so then you are supposed to change yourself to Pachana after that Nama Avastha. So after that, Beshaja. And at the end, Jara Muktet Virechana, you are supposed to give Virechana. And why is that? I'm going to describe in my later slides. So this tells about the Avastha of Vyadi. You are supposed to understand the patient's Vyadi Avastha also. So the next aspect is it shows the association of multiple factors as well as multiple systems. Say, for example, if the patient is suffering from Prameha, so obviously there will be issues with the urinary aspect where the patient will have polyuria. But along with that, patient will also have sensitive skin issues, maybe in the form of manifestation of pitakas or rashes or non-healing ulcers. All that are associated factors. Okay, and in between, if the patient gets Pakshagata, it's again a new disease. So, which is Nidanartakara Roga, which is Hetu Sankara, which is Linga Sankara, which is Anubandha Vyadi. Yes, we need to check on this, because if it is the only one Vyadi, just one Chikitsa is fine. But if the multiple systems are involved, multiple diseases are involved, the line of treatment changes. So a doctor should know, is this, because there are more than 5 to 6 symptoms in a patient, is this symptom related to the primary disease? Is the symptom a new disease? Is the symptom a complication of the disease? Is the symptom another association of the disease? Or is the patient showing multiple organ failure? Is it the disease progressing towards? Yes, a doctor should know this. Doctor should know this. So Upadrava, Udarka, both are different. You are supposed to understand these two also. Udarka also you are supposed to understand. Upadrava also you are supposed to understand. Again, one more example I would like to say, Pandu. So patient will come to you, doctor, I'm having tiredness, I can't focus, I have joint pain, I feel my skin is dry, I have hair loss, then I have palpitation, and I have severe tiredness, I feel lethargic. So lot of symptoms are there. But for all this, The diagnosis is just one, Pandu. Pandu is a diagnosis. So because if you treat the patient who is suffering from Pandu for this, so obviously all the symptoms will come down. So because it is a part of Pandu only. So once you treat Pandu, automatically all symptoms related to Pandu will come down. Along with Pandu, if the patient is having Pakshagata, so Pakshagata is an additional fact. So Pakshagata wasn't being expected along with Pandu there. So treatment of Pandu is separate, treatment of Pakshagata should be separate. So this is how we understand Pradhana Vedana, Anubandha Vedana, okay, not Nidanarthakara Roga. Okay, so this is the understanding of association of multiple factors as well as multiple symptoms. So Pandu Chikitsa is advisable for many diseases. If at all if the patient is coming to you with nutritional issues, growth retardation, focus with the reference to endurance or general growth, general weakness, if anything comes, for all, the best medicine is Pandu Chikitsa. Even in case of old age related disorders where the person has got some physical weakness, issues with Balakshaya, so better go with Pandu Chikitsa unanimously for all kind of degenerative as well as debilitating disorders. So this you are supposed to understand when it is associated with multiple factors. So it helps in spotting the location of sthana samshaya. Yes. Now for this, sometimes we may need some help of laboratory investigations. Okay, so because the patient may look very well outside, but within he is really sick. That we cannot make out because we can't see the inner aspect of the patient's body. So for that, we have to take laboratory issues or laboratory investigations. So we had a patient where he just had only one symptom, that is little tiredness, that's all, nothing much. But he only compelled me to go for a general entire medical check. He only asked me, I just want to do an X-ray, I want to do a CT scan. I said, no, that's not required, let us see once. But still, somehow, he insisted. No, I also felt, okay, let me try. So when I saw this, he had a huge mass in the GIT, okay, which he didn't have any symptom related to pain. And then when the biopsy was taken, so he had cancer. So if I had just given him some Pandu Chikitsa, probably I would have missed a major diagnosis in this example. So soon he was referred to the oncologist. So luckily he was in stage 2. So surgery was done and it was followed with the right treatment and he is surviving even now. So here laboratory diagnosis was essential. Otherwise we would have missed a very, very important diagnosis. But there are some places where we are supposed to ignore lab reports also. There was a patient, again, I'll tell you about the same patient. So he just came for a general checkup. So meanwhile, he just gives some laboratory investigations where RA came positive. There was no joint pain, no fever, no rashes, no stiffness. Then we took the ECG of the patient because always, you know very well, so Amavata patient, you are supposed to check the patient's heart also, so not only the joint. So because it causes Hridroga, as I said earlier, it is from the Hridaya where all the Ama gets circulated. Okay, so you are supposed to check the patient's Hridaya also, and according to modern science also, it licks the joints as well as bites the heart. So it's always advisable for a patient of RA to have an ECG checkup also. Well, in this patient, his symptoms were 0 and even ECG was normal. But what explanation should I give for that RA positive is a question mark. Should I give him treatment or should I not give him treatment? So then I said, you're having no symptoms, but let me just start with some Ayurvedic medicines with just general Agnidipana as well as Amapachana Dravyas I gave, because Amavata always we give Agnidipana as well as Amapachana. So I just gave Panchakola Panta. Then after that, after some time, once again I came and told, how are you? So he said, no, I am seeing no changes in my body. Same fit. That first time when I came to you, how I was, now also I'm sick. Can I have one more blood sample of yours and check? Because I was curious to know the RA factor of him. Because first time in the general checkup, he was RA positive, and I started with Agnidipana as well as Amapachana medicine. Now I am eager to know whether Ama is there or not. So in the second report also, RA was positive. I expected RA negative because I thought, just like earlier example, I missed cancer diagnosis. Here also I should not miss Amavata. So thinking that, I gave him Panchakola Fanta along with Kottam Chukkadi also, even though he had no symptoms. But RA was positive. Rheumatoid factor was positive before also, after Ama Chikitsa also. So he had no symptom. Now in this condition, I have to ignore laboratory reports, because as long as patient is fine, as long as he has got good appetite, as long as his joints are flexible, as long as there are no pain, there is no stiffness, as long as ECG is fine, he is able to do his routine physical activity without any hindrance, there is no need to bother about the laboratory reports, because our body keeps on fighting in one for one or the other viruses in our body. So one or the other antibody will be active in the body. So obviously that when our body is fighting, we have to not bother much about the internal fight that is going on. Okay, so that is all about when to ignore laboratory reports and when to focus on laboratory reports. This is very, very important. So many times they'll come to you. General physician will come to you. Doctor, I have a small dog. I'm finding this particular report. Is it okay? Shall I ignore it or shall I postpone the treatment? So then we should again check the patient and so decide whether intervention is required or shall we ignore that report. That we are supposed to decide once we see the patient's general condition. So this is about spotting the location of Sthana Samstaya. So here there was a one more example I would like to give you. So the patient came with Hrilasa, only one problem. There is no other thing. Only a young girl. She was 24 years or something. So she just came with Hrilasa. There was no other symptoms at all. So then, meanwhile, so for because directly as she was unmarried, it was not very quite for me to go for some sensitive investigations. I just requested the sonologist to go for ultrasonography because it doesn't sound suspicious. So but we did ultrasonography of her person and we saw that she was 12 weeks pregnant. And she actually she didn't tell about it. And as it is, she was still a unmarried girl. Asking such questions at the outright was very difficult. And I didn't find the reason for Hrilasa, where patient has hidden the actual truth, but we could able to find it through the lab report or through the scan. It is through scanning I came to know that Hrilasa is because of Garbha that is present inside. If I would have missed this particular information, probably I would have given any medicine that is curing Chardi. I would have missed major issue related to this. Well, after that, what happened? It's not my concern, but my concern is to diagnose. So the Hrilasa was because of once I did the scanning to the patient, that time I was able to find, because she was not at all telling anything related to her missed periods or anything related to that. She was very reluctant to give that answer. So that body language of her made me think suspicious about it. And hence I went to this. So this is the role of laboratory investigation to find where exactly Kavai Gunya. In this patient, the Kavai Gunya, I won't say Kavai Gunya, but the Nidana was present in the uterus. So that was the reason for her Hrilasa. Then there was one more patient who came, I think example 2 I have shown, abdominal distension. So he had just abdominal distension. I thought, let me do a scanning once again to find out if there is any mass. Because of that, he's having distension or what. But laboratory reports, imaging reports were very clear. So we went with the ultrasonography first, followed with the CT scan. Everything showed just normal. There was nothing inside. There was no mass, no foreign body, no lump, no obstruction. But what it is then? How come such a high amount of distension? The distension was so high that so he had shwasa. He was having breathing difficulty. Now, most of the time, to the previous doctor where he went, they gave him the medicine for his breathing issues. But actually, breathing issues was not his problem. His abdomen was so much distended that the diaphragm was pushed upwards. Because of upward pushing of the diaphragm, because of forward pushing of the abdominal muscles, the lung capacity is less. So there is no space in the lung because diaphragm has moved upwards. So lung capacity was less. Because of this, he had Shwasa. Now, what is the line of treatment? Should we go for Shwasa Chikitsa or should we go for Vatahara Chikitsa? The treatment was given for his abdominal issue because in scanning, nothing was there. That's why I tell you many times it is Ayurveda who says more about Roganidana rather than modern diagnostics. We have a lot of information related to Roganidana. I'll come to that shortly. So here, there was nothing in that, but still there was bloating. So we gave, okay, Vatanulomana Dravyas. So we just diagnosed it with the as Admana, and where there's severe vriddhi of Vata, and because of that, there was Shwasa. And finally, we found the reason of it. It was because of Udavarta. That was the second one. So third case where the patient had Shwasa. Okay, so that also I'll just come right now. So the patient came with Shwasa, and Shwasa patient, how obviously we No, I just let's not think to see pranamasa. I just want, because I had good experience about previous case, abdominal distension. Because of abdominal distension, the patient had Shwasa. I want to try the same in this patient also. Now here also it was the same. So I didn't give him any medicine to his pranamasa. I didn't give him Trikatu Churna, Sitopaladi Churna or Talisadi Churna. Nothing I had given. I didn't give any Agastya Rasayana. No. Usually we give all those medicines for Kashashwas. No, for this I have not given. I just gave him one very good Anuloma. First, one Anuloma itself gave a lot of improvement in him. So he just came next day itself. I just want to continue it. Then I fixed him for a good Shodhana. So a right date was found, Agni was assessed, Ama was noted, and then Snehapana was given, and then Virechana was given. So again here also. So because of accumulation of Ama, Dushtadosha, Vata in the abdominal region, the diaphragm moves upwards. So because of this, the person will have very less space for his chest expansion. And because of that, there will be Shwasa. Once you give Virechana, all the abdominal tensions will lower, the lung capacity will be enhanced, vital capacity will be enhanced, chest expansion will be better, and breathing will be easy. So this is why we should talk about constipation also in the patient who is suffering from Shwasa. Many times we'll be focusing on Shwasa, but we'll be not focusing on Vibandha. Actually, the person is suffering from Shwasa because of Vibandha there. Shwasa is not the problem. You clear the patient's Vibandha, where all the stool goes outside, all the Vayu goes outside, urination happens easily, there is no accumulation in the intestine. Obviously, there will be more space for the thoracic cavity and then breathing will be easy. So this is the, who says this? So once again, I'll tell you, it is because of the presence of Roganidhana knowledge in this condition, which will help you to understand it better.